Have you ever walked alone in a rice field at night? The lantern you carry may not be just an ordinary light. Suddenly, the darkness around you feels alive. Strange whispers drift from every direction. And the shadows you see might be watching you. Tonight, will you dare to move forward, or will you run? Turn on your lantern and discover the lost lantern. The night was heavy and still. A soft mist hung over the narrow path through the rice fields. Jay walked slowly, clutching a lantern that barely gave light. The glow flickered weakly, throwing shadows that danced across the wet grass. Every step made a soft crunch against the damp soil. He could hear the distant croak of frogs and the whisper of leaves in the breeze. The air smelled of wet earth and something faintly metallic. Jay paused. He thought he saw a figure in the distance. It was gone when he blinked. His heart began to race. The lantern flickered again, and the shadows seemed to grow taller. He tried to call out, but his voice caught in his throat. A cold gust of wind brushed against his neck. The lantern wavered and then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the path around him. He could feel the wet soil beneath his bare feet, but he could not see a single step ahead. A whisper carried on the wind, almost like a name he knew. Jay froze. Every hair on his body stood up. The rice fields seemed alive, moving with a rhythm he could not understand. Something brushed past his arm. He turned sharply. There was nothing there. His breathing grew shallow. Then a faint glow appeared in the distance, small and unsteady. It moved slowly, as if searching for him. Jay stepped forward, every sense alert. The glow flickered closer, and with it came a strange smell, like smoke and wet clay. He reached out, heart pounding. The light darted away, faster than he could follow. Jay stumbled, falling to his knees in the mud. The glow returned, hovering just above the ground, teasing him. A low hum began, vibrating through the air, wrapping around his chest. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. The lantern appeared once more, floating just a few feet away. It was not the lantern he had carried. It was older, cracked, and pulsing with a strange, cold light. Jay reached for it slowly. The moment his fingers brushed the handle, the wind screamed, and shadows lunged from every direction. A chilling voice whispered, close enough to feel on his skin, saying a single word he could not understand. Jay's eyes widened in shock. The world around him seemed to bend and sway. The lantern lifted into the air, and with a sudden flash, the rice fields were gone. He was no longer on the familiar path. The mist thickened, turning into darkness that moved and breathed. Jay felt something cold wrap around his ankle, pulling him toward the lantern. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the dense, living darkness. The lantern floated higher, casting eerie shapes that twisted into faces he could barely recognize. Every step forward felt like falling deeper into a dream he could not wake from. The lantern floated just ahead, its strange cold light pulsing like a heartbeat. Jay tried to stand, but the ground beneath him felt soft, like he was sinking. Every movement made a sucking sound, as though the earth was swallowing him inch by inch. He looked around, but nothing was familiar. The rice fields, the narrow path, even the distant lights of the village were gone. Instead, shadows stretched endlessly in every direction, twisting like long, dark fingers. A faint whisper returned, this time clearer, echoing from all sides. It sounded like someone calling his name, but each syllable was stretched and distorted. Jay took a step toward the lantern, his chest tight with fear. The air grew colder, biting his skin, and the mist swirled around him in strange patterns. The lantern flickered, then shone brighter, illuminating the twisted shapes of trees he had never seen before. Their branches curled unnaturally, forming faces that glared at him with hollow eyes. Jay swallowed hard, every instinct telling him to run, but his legs felt heavy, rooted to the ground. The humming sound returned, low and vibrating through the air, like the heartbeat of the darkness itself. The lantern lifted higher, then stopped suddenly in midair. It hovered just above a patch of soil that seemed darker than the rest. A faint crackling sound came from the ground, like bones breaking beneath the earth. Jay's heart pounded. A cold mist rose, wrapping around his legs and creeping up like slow fingers of ice. He tried to pull his legs free, but the mist held him tight. The light of the lantern flickered again and revealed movement in the darkness. Figures emerged, thin and pale, with faces obscured by shadow. They did not walk, they glided, their feet never touching the ground. Jay wanted to scream, but no sound came out. One figure reached toward him, its hand translucent and icy cold. He tried to pull back, and the mist tightened, dragging him closer to the lantern. The light pulsed again, and he could see the shapes of faces in it, screaming silently, their eyes wide with terror. The lantern moved a few feet away, just out of reach, teasing him. Jay struggled with every ounce of strength, finally freeing one leg. He lunged forward, grabbing at the lantern, but it darted away, moving as if alive. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, forming words he could almost understand. It was telling him something, a warning he could not decipher. The ground beneath him trembled, soft soil shifting like it had a mind of its own. The shadows began to move faster, swirling around him, forming tunnels and walls that confined him. Jay realized he was trapped, caught in a maze of living darkness. The lantern floated higher, now above the twisted trees, pulsing steadily. It seemed to be calling him, drawing him forward into the unknown. He forced himself to take a deep breath, pushing the fear aside. Step by step, he followed the light, feeling the mist wrap tighter with every movement. Suddenly, the lantern flickered violently, throwing shadows that leapt like jagged teeth. Jay stumbled back, almost falling into a small pit of mud that had opened beneath his feet. The pit was shallow, but the soil around it moved as if something underneath was trying to push out. He scrambled back, gripping the earth, and looked up. The lantern hovered just above the pit now, its glow brighter, almost blinding. A voice whispered directly into his ear, cold and sharp. It said a single word in a language he did not know, but the meaning was clear: do not touch. Jay froze, terror rooting him to the spot. The figures in the shadows began to move toward the lantern, surrounding it. They did not speak, but their intentions were clear, a silent, menacing pull toward the glowing object. Jay's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. There was none. Every path was blocked by twisting shadows or the grasping mist. The lantern floated closer to the pit. Jay felt the pull, almost magnetic, drawing him forward despite every warning in his body. A sudden gust of wind blew through the area, cold and sharp, making the mist swirl violently. The lantern spun, the light flashing like lightning, revealing horrifying glimpses of the figures. Their faces were pale, twisted in anguish, their mouths open in silent screams. Jay could hear whispers now all around him, overlapping into a chorus of terror. It was as though the darkness itself was alive, breathing, whispering, waiting. He wanted to turn back, but his body would not respond. The lantern pulsed again, higher, and a strange vibration ran through the ground, under his feet, through his chest. Jay felt a sudden surge of vertigo, like the world was tipping sideways. The pit beneath the lantern glowed, revealing jagged rocks and deep shadows. Something moved inside the pit, large and slow, pushing the soil upward. The lantern hovered just above it, its glow cold. Jay's hand trembled above the glowing lantern. The pull from the pit and the whispers around him pressed closer. His heart pounded like a drum, every beat echoing the cold pulse of the light. He realized in that moment that the lantern was not meant to be touched. It was a guardian, a warning, a key to something beyond his understanding. Summoning every ounce of courage, he slowly withdrew his hand. The whispers intensified for a moment, sharp and urgent, then gradually faded. The mist began to lift, curling upward like smoke. The shadows surrounding him recoiled, shrinking back into the edges of the darkness. The glowing eyes from the pit blinked once and disappeared beneath the soil. Jay stumbled backward, heart racing, but safe from the pull. The lantern floated in place, cold and glowing, then slowly descended toward the pit. It slipped into the darkness, leaving only a faint shimmer behind. The wind shifted, warm and gentle now, carrying the scent of wet earth and rice blossoms. The twisted trees and shadows faded, revealing the familiar path through the rice fields. Jay sank to his knees, trembling but relieved. He looked around. The village lights twinkled in the distance, calm and unchanged. The world was quiet again, normal, as if the night had never held the danger he had felt. He rose slowly, brushing the mud from his clothes. The memory of the lantern and the pit lingered in his mind, a strange, unshakable presence. He realized some things were not meant to be owned or controlled. Some mysteries existed to remind humans of their limits, their place in the vast unknown. Jay walked home, each step careful, but steady. The moon reflected softly on the wet rice fields, illuminating the path with gentle light. He did not look back, but he could feel the memory of the lantern pulsing softly in his chest. A moment of fear had taught him caution, humility, and respect. By the time he reached the edge of the village, the night had returned to calm. No whisper, no shadow, no pull, just the quiet hum of the natural world. The lost lantern was gone, yet its lesson remained, etched into his heart forever. Jay smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and awe. Some nights held more than darkness. Some nights held truths that humans were not ready to touch. And some lights, no matter how beautiful, were not meant to be chased. The village slept peacefully as Jay disappeared into the warmth of home, carrying with him the memory of a night he would never forget. The lantern remained lost, waiting quietly in the shadows, patient and eternal.